You know, I don't usually do mid-season updates or thoughts on anything because most of the time, there isn't really that much to review. The story content usually starts strong and then lags until the end. Couple of exotics, it's more or less the same vibe season over season. But seeing as we've seemingly concluded the story portion of the season, with over 40 days remaining, now might be a decent time to have a chat about the season thus far. Bungie. I don't know what happened in between Season 12 and Season 13, but all I have to say is, bravo! What a massive turnaround. What a massive storytelling turnaround for season content. This is the first time I've truly looked forward to Tuesday resets in a very long time. Normally, seasons are front-loaded with a story mission or two, then this ambiguous feeling that we're pushing the story forward by doing the seasonal content, despite no acknowledgement that it's even really doing anything. And then it just decides to end because it's the end of the season. It's been a complaint of mine for a while. No mid-season drama, developments, anything really, unless you're on Twitter. Week-over-week dialogue at the helm. Even on weeks with nothing really happening, of which there were a couple, even just Saladin acknowledging that we need to continue our efforts was nice to hear as a means of keeping things rolling. New lines of dialogue being added to the end of Battleground completions kept things spicy, lots of banter with Amanda, Crow, Saladin, Osiris. Character development. Saladin is a bloodthirsty maniac in comparison to Osiris and Crow's more nuanced approach. You got Zavala being Zavala, but I wouldn't expect anything different here, pussy. But even he had a couple of moments over this season. Even having the dialogue getting updated as we've been going along. Great stuff. I'm so much more interested than I have ever been with this side of the game. They even had Keitel posting on Twitter. Dude, like, come on, that's pretty sick. Most other weeks we had plot development, story development. Things are actually happening week over week, giving me a reason to actually log into the game. You've made it so I'm actually interested in the story week over week, not the course of the franchise, not over the course of the season, weekly. What's going to happen this week? Who's going to talk Saladin next? Who planned the hit on Zavala? Where's Crow going? When is he coming back? When is he going to sit on my face? What new developments are happening at the Glycon? Let's talk about that next. First off, great job with Dead Man's Tale. This is the first time in a long time I've wanted to use a scout rifle in Destiny 2. Now, granted, the weapon isn't very exciting when it comes to its perk. It's a damage perk for hitting shots, but firing the weapon is very satisfying. It's very powerful as a workhorse weapon. I haven't been able to take it off all season. It's going to be a sad day when I lose anti-barrier scout or when Bungie inevitably nerfs scout rifles again for no reason. I was initially down on the catalyst as I'm not a big hipfire guy, but even that has proven to be insanely powerful. Great gun, satisfying to use. It comes from the Glycon, aka the Presage mission, where we go to learn more about the Darkness and Callus, a character that has felt neglected in the grand scheme of the game, and what exactly has been going on with him, among other relationships. Bungie did a great job in making sure they're getting their bang for the buck when it comes to developing these missions by making them replayable in multiple ways. First is obviously a new role of Dead Man's Tale. Second are all of the collectibles needed for the title. But on multiple playthroughs, especially when getting the collectibles, we get more plot development. Hopefully stuff will be sitting in the future. Keitel and Osiris working together to solve the mysteries of the ship. Even the Cabal are getting character development. At least leadership is. Keitel is not like the Cabal that have come before her. She's different, not like the other girls, more diplomatic. But more importantly, just generally speaking, we finally have a villain. Or should I say villain question mark. That is a part of the storytelling experience in a much more personal way. This isn't your Savathun, Xivu Arath, hiding in lore books and hidden notes. This is an outward-facing villain, one that has a face, one that has character, one that has their own morals, their own flaws, their own evolution as a species. Compare this to most villains that have come before. Barely any interaction with them over the course of a campaign or season, or are just this nebulous thing that we know about but never get to interact with or hear from. Keitel is a 180 in terms of that. I am now personally invested in the arc as opposed to just feeling fatigued about a character like Savathun, who has been dangled in front of us for multiple years now, with what feels like nothing in between. One of the biggest things is also pace. This wasn't stretched out over an entire season, but it did last a few weeks, and I think keeping this pace is what really helped seal the deal for me. None of this, when is the next thing gonna happen crap. I don't mind that it appears that we're done with the story for the season because I got way more invested into it with it being done this way. Although, almost every other season pales in comparison to what Season of the Chosen has managed to accomplish in a short time. I do not know what is in store for the rest of the season, but what I will say is that if the helm has enabled Bungie to do everything that they were capable of doing, then I'm very much looking forward to the future of story in Destiny. Oh, also, the strike. It's okay. It's not bad. I do like the tank room area, lots of big, wide open spaces, and the concept of being on a moving tank is pretty cool, even if you rarely get to see the visuals of roaming outside. Tough to judge because the regular strike experience is nothing crazy, while the GM experience is one of the toughest we've ever had. Doesn't have the spectacle of something like the Corrupted. Boss fight isn't too bad either, again for a normal strike experience anyway. Not the absolute best, but definitely not the worst either. Oh, and the rocks can kill you in the third section. Some people have been learning that the hard way. Moving on, Stasis Nerfs are fresh off the press, and they are noticeable, which is great. For me, the Stasis Nerfs are sort of a double whammy. Stasis itself was nerfed, so when I do have to fight against it, I'm not suffering nearly as much through the awful existential hell that is PvP. Dear God, why do I play this? But there's also the added benefit of people not using Stasis as much as a result. When I played recently, I definitely noticed much less Stasis, and when I was fighting against it, it was much more manageable. I killed a Behemoth Titan. I moved out of a Duskfield grenade that I stood in for a long time. I didn't get killed by a Withering Blade around two corners. Light subclasses are being restored to the Crucible, and I'm all for it. Not saying we are without problems, but when Stasis was the biggest one, and it's getting toned down, well, I'll take it. My boy Fallout Plays, Actual Sex God, did a big review of all the changes if you want to check them out. Link is in the description. But stuff like Shatter Dive combo, it's really tough to get a one-hit kill with that combo now. Bungie also made some notes about Crucible lobby balancing in a recent TWAB, where they'll be trying a new system to matchmake people by doing a snake draft essentially. So, to give a crude example, game finds 12 people with various skill ratings, takes the highest, put them on Team A, then takes 2 and 3, sticks them on Team B, takes 4 and 5, sticks them on Team A, etc., etc. Sounds good to me because Crucible lobbies have not felt very balanced. I'm actually excited if a game is close, mainly because I get to stay in a game instead of spending half of my time in orbit because of all these Mercy games. I think my only other big criticism at the moment is the high cost of focusing Umbral Ingrams. At the rate you are capable of getting charges, I don't think anyone is spending 5 of such charges to gamble on a tier 3 focused item. It's just too much. Same goes for armor. I've seen people routinely say they're getting sub 60 stat armor from tier 3 rolls. I only pulled 1 because I didn't want to spend charges and got something with 61. But when I have access to raid loot, it is tough to warrant spending that much on armor that I know won't be an upgrade. I don't know who is spending 3 charges for a specific armor piece. Maybe I guess if you really need a specific armor slot in a hurry for some infusion fodder or something cool, but this doesn't need to be 3. You could honestly have tier 1 be 1, tier 2 be 2, and tier 3 be 3, and it would be totally fine. Oh, playlist weapons. Drop rate was terrible. CJ's recent bottom dollar video where he played over 400 games to get 27 bottom dollars. Let's say he dismantled half of them. That's still 1 out of every 9 games of Gambit. It was buffed, hearing slightly better things, but it's definitely better than where it was. Part of me wants to say, with so many perks available, these should be dropping all the time because the odds of getting the role you want are really low, while part of me wants to say, I don't think these weapons are going to be removed from the loot pools for a while, so you have the time to get them, technically speaking, which is why they're a bit rare. Honestly, for me, it's just Gambit, really. It's just having to play Gambit to get the gun, because when I play Crucible, it feels like they drop somewhat often, strikes a little less, but those are strikes. It's Gambit. Let's be real, it's just Gambit. We also had the 12-man raid saga, which I didn't really speak on too much, as well as Trials getting shut down because of win trading. 12-man raiding, I got to do 1 of them, and it basically went exactly how I thought it was going to go. A novelty. Was fun to do one time, just seeing that many people in the raid at once. Considering how widespread this issue was, I didn't see it reasonable for Bungie to disable activities that could be 12-man, mainly because it felt like most of the game had this issue. What are they going to do? Shut down the game until it's fixed? As I'll say in my Trials paragraph coming up, doesn't really thrill me that people were able to farm endgame loot by abusing the system in this way, but lol, PvE, who cares, right? If you can't do the raid, if you can't do the GM Nightfall, there shouldn't be just a way to say screw it, we tried, now it's time to cheat. Granted, this isn't something you can do anymore, but that has been my philosophy since I've started covering Destiny. But do we shut down most of the PvE portion of the game for a couple of weeks to fix this fishy-wishy this specific issue? Probably not. Now, in terms of the concept of 12-man content, would I love to see stuff actually balanced for it? Absolutely. Do I think we see any 12-man content? Not for a while, and that's likely due to how much stuff you would need to spawn to keep the content interesting, which I imagine has some major implications for people on the oldest generation of consoles and the performance of them. I think we need to see the overwhelming majority of people on the new consoles and PC before Bungie moves away from PS4 and Xbox One. Much like what we saw with the PS3 and 360. If only some platforms can handle certain content, then it's a no-go. I could see a world where 9-man content potentially becomes a thing, but that might be pushing it for the previous generation of consoles, and that's not even discussing the logistics of having to now get 9 people together instead of 6. And then Trials. Oh, Trials! I love Trials! Love Trials! Trials are so good! Trials got shut down for a couple of weeks because of the ability to win trade, and this made a lot of people upset because it gave people a way to finally get loot and flawless, likely because they're upset with cheaters and hackers shutting them down. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm down with win trading or cheating as a means to get to the lighthouse or getting loot. If you can't go flawless, there should not be a way to just say, well, we tried, guess it's just time to win trade, cheat to get it, or go play Final Fantasy XIV, much like there shouldn't be a way to do it in the various raids we've had. If you can't do it, you can't do it, and there shouldn't just be a free way to get that stuff. If Bungie was going to shut down Trials due to cheaters and hackers, guess what? It would never open back up. So I understand the reasoning. This is something that does actually have a fix compared to fighting cheaters and hackers, which is a much longer term fight. I understand being upset at hackers ruining the mode too. I straight up haven't played Trials except for one time a few weeks ago where I got absolutely carried to the lighthouse. But just being able to win trade your way to loot ain't it, and sets a bad precedent. Yeah, if it's in the game, it's fair game to exploit, blah blah, spare me. I'm not down with it. I'll never be down with it. Just my philosophy. At least the 12-man raids had the benefit of novelty, something we've never gotten to experience in the game before. There's no novelty value in win trading. As for what the rest of the season holds, I'm not too sure. The only things on the calendar that remain are more Iron Banners and Guardian games, but in seasons prior to this one, the second half isn't usually very eventful when it comes to story components. Most of it would come at the very end. It wouldn't surprise me if Bungie had one more trick up their sleeve or anything like that with story, but for the most part, I think the major events of the season are pretty much over. I don't look at data mine information. I'm sure someone is going to hit the comments with, data miners found XYZ, and if so, great, don't tell me. I suspect that most of my feelings from this mid-season review will be carrying over to the end-of-season review if I do end up doing one. The season has been very good compared to seasons past, definitely in the top half. I hope it continues for the rest of the year, especially considering the delay of the Witch Queen expansion. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.